I think we're kicking it off here. Everybody, welcome very much to Where Will the Space Industry Go Next? Thank you for spending your time in the afternoon. When I was a young boy, I was very fascinated by space, and I dreamed about the opportunities that would come with it. But at the time, there was only the possibility to be an astronaut and explore space. What we're now seeing is a lot of real commercial opportunities. We're seeing career paths that are starting to develop in the new space economy. So to set the stage economically, the space economy is currently valued at $630 million, and McKinsey forecasts that by 2035 it will be $1.8 trillion. Thanks to SpaceX and other major change makers, payload pricing is dropping, capacity costs are dropping, and more commercial enterprises are being developed all the time. For those of you who don't know, 5 countries have passed domestic laws focusing on space resources development. Luxembourg, the US, Brazil, Japan, and the UAE. And if rumors are to be true, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia itself will be the next one. China has passed Document 60, which amazingly for the Chinese economy allows for private space enterprises to proliferate within the Chinese borders. And space is plays a very active part in all of their 5-year plans. Not just space, but the development of resource in space. Today we have some great panelists, Cam Ghaffarian, the executive chair and co-founder of Axiom Space, and Tibor Pacher, the CEO of Poulet Space Technology. They're going to help us understand this journey. So I'll pass it over to Cam and then Tibor, both to introduce themselves. But one of the things, I study space for a living, and space resources development is an area of study for me. A lot of people don't actually understand what that is. So Cam, maybe you could introduce yourself and give me your understanding of what the new space economy actually is.
Yeah, be happy to. Cam Ghaffarian, since I was 6 years old, I was in love with space, and when I saw Neil Armstrong landing on the surface of the moon at age 11, that was done for me, and I've been part of the space program for about 45 years. Have co-founded 3 commercial space companies. In 2013, I co-founded Intuitive Machines. It's the first private company in the history of humankind successfully landing on the surface of the moon earlier this year in February. And we have many other moon landers planned going forward. And in 2016, I co-founded Axiom Space, where we're building the first private commercial space station. And we're planning to launch our first module by end of 2026. And then later on, 2020, Quantum Space, where we're designing a multi-purpose satellite for space exploration. In terms of your question, what is the new space? I mean, first let's define what's traditional space. I mean, the traditional space to me is really started with things like NASA and what used to be done in Soviet Union and Russia and of course China, primarily sponsored by the government, paid by the governments, and then you had many contractors, if you will, that provided support to the agencies. With the advent of the what I call commercial space or new space, now you got commercial space companies that coming to forefront, such as SpaceX and Intuitive Machine, Axiom Space, Quantum Space, and others who are much more disruptive, and they are dealing with a market that is commercial and didn't exist before. A good example is SpaceX. I mean, for a long time, we had this, I would say, disposable rockets to sort of be able to create this new economy where you have reusability of the rockets is incredibly disruptive and lowers the cost of transportation to space. And by that, we're creating this new economy, this new ecosystem in space where many other companies, such as Axiom Space and Intuitive Machine, can use that transportation to do further things. So there are many companies in that front and really growing by leaps and bounds, and really mostly targeted for commercial aspects.
And Tibor, saying, I want to come back to some of that, particularly around who's funding your definition of new space. But Tibor, same question to you. A bit about yourself quickly, and then please tell us what you consider is the new space economy.
Yeah, I'm Tibor Pacher, so I'm similarly to Cam, was a young boy watching on the TV, Armstrong and Aldrin just hopping around the moon, and this is something I think this is in our brain, yeah. So, and then I studied physics and then made a lot of other things in life, but space called me every time. And as the Google Analytics Prize was on the horizon, I said this is the time really just to jump in and check how can we do something, even in Hungary. Hungary is a very small country, but with some, I think, veritable space heritage from the Soviet times. And we have always said that our engineers and mathematicians and physicists are pretty good. Think of the Los Alamos time, Wigner, Neumann, Teller, Szilard, these are all Hungarians, so that's good. So, and that was the reason for me just to jump in and to say how can we do really private space company in Hungary. And it's much harder than in the US, but we are still alive, and by chance we are working with intuitive machines, and we are going to the moon hopefully early January, early next year with one of our small instruments. And new space is again private companies for me as well, and not only Elon and then Jeff, yeah? But also the smaller, even if intuitive already on the Nasdaq and it's fine, but also to see how can we make it profitable and what is the business, and this is what we are looking for actually. So this is something very interesting question for me as well.
But you're both talking about private companies and new space, and what we're still seeing is the main customer, the main person paying the bills is the governments. Where there's this one, SpaceX, their biggest customer is by far and away the US government. How do we develop that ecosystem that has a private sector? You know, it's a private sector consumer, particularly Axiom, or both of you have businesses that are looking to do something in space. How are you going to attract a different kind of customer? How are we transitioning from the public sector being the ultimate payee to the private sector?
Yeah, actually regarding Axiom Space, a very small part of our funding came from the government. We now work with 12 different countries, and when I say government, you know, in terms of a contract, in fact, we were incredibly proud in 2022 to take 2 private astronauts from Saudi Arabia to International Space Station, and we have now completed 3 Axiom missions. First one was with 3 private individuals, and the second one we had got into the countries. Third one was all ESA countries, if you will, European countries. Our AX4 is scheduled for first quarter next year with India, Hungary, and Poland as our astronauts. We're training them as we speak. And so we've been able to gain a whole lot of revenue, dealing with all these countries. I would call them precursor missions before we launch our own space station. But in addition to that, we've been quite successful in raising money. I think we raised over $650 million overall from venture capital firms. One significant from Saudi Arabia and others within United States. And so in all my commercial space companies, it's really a mixed bag of government and commercial. Even on the Moonlander, we were about 60-40 commercial versus the government, and more and more is commercial and less government.
And Tibor, we were talking earlier, it sounds like the government is still your main customer. How are you working towards expanding the potential customer base?
Yeah, this is a generic case, I believe, that first the governments will be the first customers, let's move that way. This is a kind of kickstart, and I think this is right, because the private industry doesn't really know what is in space. So we have to have to teach the industry or also the finance world what is out there. Yeah? So for instance, it was very interesting for me to watch discussions about energy transition and no word about potential space-based solar power. Nothing, because this could be one of the solutions actually, but really no word. So for us, Hungary is maybe a special case. It's a very small country. That means that we have much less options than in the US or elsewhere. So we struggled for a very long time just to survive at all. Right now we have also ESA project. ESA is the European NASA, as they say, so the European Space Agency. So this again, it's public money in that sense. And right now we are, as I mentioned, we are flying with intuitive machines to the moon, and there we are making something completely new. Hopefully it will be closed in the next weeks. We are making a mission where we are looking for data, waterized data. This is another thing, we might come back to that. And the first customer will be again a space agency. I cannot disclose it right now who, but this is again the case. And we are really thinking about when the mining industry, for instance, or anything else, will be interested enough just to check space resources is a good thing or private space is a good thing. It is happening at LEO, like Axiom says in the astronaut stuff and Earth observation, but we jumped immediately and a little bit farther into the lunar economy, cislunar economy. So I hope it will come. I have no idea when. The sooner the better, because we have to survive. But I think this is something what we have to really teach also many people. They simply don't know.
It's really valuable. We've got almost two ends of the spectrum in terms of the space economy. Axiom Space being a giant in the room, and your company being a startup, and you're both facing some of the same issues, which is really interesting. I'm going to tie this next question back to. We're hearing a lot about AI, we're hearing a lot about data centers. What do you think is the next promising tech investment? We could put data centers in space. The cooling, the zero G, the solar radiation to power them is a huge opportunity. AI is going to be an accelerator for space, and then we're going to realize the globe is going to realize they have a tiger by the tail. What do you think will really make the world wake up and realize all these disparate parts of the space economy are actually investable? And maybe I'll start with Tibor this time.
This is a good question, and it's a hard question. So I don't know the answer actually. So I think AI will play a role, but not that much as in other things. Yeah. So it's much more hard physics what we have to master actually. And this is also the question of financing. We have to make it cheaper just to get the access to space, which is happening on the LEO orbit, maybe on the moon as well. Just to give you a number, to deliver 1 kilogram payload to the moon to the surface at the moment is $1.5 million per kilogram. So I told my engineers always just put a A4 paper with 1 gram $1,000. Yeah, so if you design something, then you have to be careful. So this I don't know. So again, first I think on the LEO, the Earth observational data will be very valuable, and it is coming. It is already there, looking for whatever type of data, forest development, even the forest fires and so on, so which could be also very useful. Farther in the outer space on the moon, again, first I think it is just in the prospecting phase, and the question is who will pay for the prospecting data? And in the next 5 to 10 years, we have to make prospecting. Probably some agency data will be there available, but again, we are looking for also the interest on that. If there is something, I see one potential game changer if we can set up a good logistics from to the moon. It's helium-3. It's not fusion. Yeah? So I'm a physicist, and physicists are saying that since 30 years, fusion will be there in 30 years. Yeah? So it takes a time. But helium-3 is also a very cold stuff. And quantum computing and AI, as we heard, will need a lot of cooling actually, and there is no production of helium-3 on Earth, and there is a scarcity at the moment. This could be one of the first business. Interloon, a US startup company, is working on that. So that might be the first one.
That makes sense. And for those who don't know, prospecting data can be very valuable. It's well known there's water on the moon. And what most people don't realize is once you can find water and successfully extract water, you can turn it into its constituent parts, hydrogen and oxygen. Another word for oxygen is rocket fuel when it becomes liquid oxygen. So essentially, we're creating a gas station on the moon. All of a sudden, you don't have to launch fuel from Earth at the very expensive cost that Tibor mentioned. You are basically refueling on the moon. There are already hubs, like we have natural gas hubs or WTI oil hubs. There are hubs where people are willing to make a price for water on the moon. Similarly, the prospecting data is very, very valuable for helium-3, which is likely going to be the first mineral or gas or resource that is actually harvested in space and brought back down to Earth. So all of that you hear, the amazing stories you hear about asteroid capture, that's a while out. But our near to medium term is most likely going to be helium-3 in terms of resource capture. So maybe same question to you, Cam.
Yeah, so let me just say the following thing. First of all, AI, quantum computing, robotics, all of these I think are accelerators for space. I mean, when you combine them together, we're creating a incredibly new economy, new ecosystem that it's pretty incredible. And just to expand a little bit further, I think there's this whole space, commercial space and space exploration are really expanding exponentially, but it's really not known. I think it's sort of like a hidden gem in a way. It's sort of like
it's disparate. It's here.
Exactly.
It's here. It's here.
Exactly. Like I almost look at it like early days of internet, where people didn't quite get it yet till the internet happened, but it is happening, and of course, space is infinite. Like for Axiom Space, not only ability to take humans to space and astronauts to space and all of that, but being able to do things like orbital data centers or pharmaceutical in space. I mean, people don't realize that we might be able to do things in microgravity or zero G that might be able to cure cancer, or might be able to reverse aging or even slow aging.
Zero G is a resource in itself. If you
Yeah,
actually think
absolutely.
And I'm quite close with a few astronauts. I'm sure you are too. Once you get in, pardon the pun, once you get into space, it's very small. And they're telling me about amazing experiments where they're 3D printing organs
Absolutely.
in zero G, because you can't 3D print, because of the gravity, you can't 3D print organs down here on Earth.
Right. Today, we're actually able to print corneas and retinas in space, and like you indicated, if you do that today on Earth, the gravity pulls the molecules down, and as a result, you can't do it. Whereas in a microgravity environment, they naturally go where they go. Or let's say fiber optics. The current fiber optics that created on Earth are not able to carry infrared signals. If you can do it in space, so space manufacturing is going to be enormous. In fact, the business case for Axiom Space, if you sort of think about like SpaceX, based on Morgan Stanley, 2/3 of their value, it's not based on the rocket industry, it's based on Starlink, right?
Yes, of course.
And if you sort of look at Axiom Space, again, having the modules to space and doing all of that is great. But if we're able to attack some of these new economies, I mean, just think about if I get 2-3% of some sort of cancer treatment in space, the business case is sold.
Of course.
And so then using these other technologies that you were talking about, like more power to space. So one of my other companies, X Energy, we're developing advanced safe nuclear. So let's say combine nuclear power either on the moon, which we have a contract doing that, or doing it on the space station, now you have enough power to really do space manufacturing and then create this brand new economy ecosystem that's going to grow exponentially.
That makes a lot of sense. And what you're saying, and what I'm hearing from you both, is a lot of the things that we've been talking about, the AI, autonomous vehicles, you're going to need data for that. Where's that data going to come from? It can't be terrestrial.
Right.
It's got to come down from space. So tying into that, where does the global south fit in? How do we not leave people behind? How do we not have a colonial, the next colonial land grab in space? And maybe coming from a small country like Hungary, maybe you can talk a bit about that. I know I'm throwing you on the spot here, but
I don't really know the answer. So I think this is again outreach. And this is very important, and just to spread the word about that. Space is always interesting, and space is always also about curiosity. It's really just explorations. We are explorers in that sense, and small countries can have also the chance just really to think out of the box somewhere, because the resources are smaller, and so that means that we may find solutions which are not usual. This could be also good, and I think this is also an issue. How can we show that also for instance for Africa? Yeah? So even if we have the problem that many 100 million people do not have even access to internet, but even space might enable also this kind of information spreading, and so it is also just as a very positive effect, and this is what I think it would be great just to make and to check, besides the normal business cases what we are working on.
I would just, one of the reasons I'm interested in space, extremely interested in space and being a space cadet, because it unifies humanity.
Oh, that's very good.
It really unifies humanity. I mean, people, the astronaut that I sent to space, or other astronauts, any of them who have ever been to space, when they come back, they have this thing called overview effect, where they're going around Earth, right, every 90 minutes, and they see this incredibly beautiful blue globe that is protected by very thin atmosphere, and there are no borders. and here's life, everything on Earth, and right beyond it in space, there is nothing, right? And they come to this realization that we truly are one. And even though we have our wars and our division and being tribal by countries, by borders, by genders and everything else, that at the end of the day, the people who come back say, wow, we really one humanity. And space belongs to everyone. And one of the things that I believe is we need to democratize space. And therefore, I think we need to grow as a human race. Because, the universe is so vast. And we're really just, a pixel of dust in the enormity of the universe. Just in our galaxy alone, there are 400 billion stars, just like our own sun, with planets around them, and 100,000 light years to go from one point to another.
So you're saying we really need to come together as one and embrace space as a commons?
In fact, I would say that as a human race, until we realize that we really are one race, we're not going to evolve to the next level.
Okay, we have 1 minute left. 3 very short answer, one-word answer questions. Biggest challenge for the new space economy, biggest opportunity for the new space economy, and is a space elevator science fiction, or will it be science fact?
Okay, you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay, so
One word.
The biggest challenge, I think, with the space economy, just like any other thing that happened. I mean, 10 years ago, if you said, hey, please invest in AI, people wouldn't do this. So I think with the space economy is realization and the funding.
Funding. Makes
Space
sense.
elevator, I'm not sure.
Biggest opportunity.
I'm not convinced. In terms of the, what was the third question?
Biggest opportunity.
Biggest opportunity, I think, is a commercial space growth. and really dynamically changing disrupting the whole space.
All right, Tibor, very quickly, because they're giving me the hook.
Yeah, that's very similar actually. I think the challenge is really just how to build up this private economy beyond LEO, beyond low Earth orbit. So LEO is working quite well, but where we are interested in is moon and farther. Opportunity is a big opportunity, and as Cam said, we are one human race. And I remember Jim Lovell, I believe Jim Lovell was said, behind my thumb is the whole Earth.
Yeah.
Everybody I know, I have seen, and so
Lives there.
imagine that one. Yeah, so that's and then the overview effect. Yeah, space elevator. Physics says it could be done. I don't see it happening.
There we go. Well, thank you. You heard it here first. Two great companies to invest in. An incredible conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.